size of the seed. So that means not very deep. So a lot of the smaller seeds, I'll just scatter and then just lightly dust the soil over where the seeds are. Some seeds actually, and this should be on the packet of the seeds that you buy, some seeds actually need light. They need a little bit of sunlight to grow, and you don't want to put them in the ground very deep.
Like lettuce and grass.
Yeah. Yep. So, so they're all different, and I think just like experiment and I think this is the easiest way to enjoy failure. You know, it's not that expensive, and you learn so much from it. All right, organic fertilizers, real fast. Green manures or cover crops are things that you plant, like hairy vetch and rye and different kinds of legumes, different kinds of peas, and you can buy mixes of those, which you plant in the fall. And then you let it grow, and then you cut that, and you till that back into the soil, and that will help raise the nutrient and the organic material.
And it holds your topsoil over the winter, too.
Yep.
And it's pretty green.
Yep. Fish and kelp emulsions, you can get those in southern states. Lowe's used to carry it. I don't know if they do anymore. It's really, really powerful stuff. It's super stinky, and if you have cats, they kind of go a little nuts after the fish emulsion has been sprinkled on stuff. Composted chicken manure, you can buy that. Make sure it's organic. Compost tea, which some people make by putting compost in. You can do it in a 5-gallon bucket, but the thing is you need to aerate it. So you need to somehow figure a way to get it to move and get air in there. And the water then that's from that is very, very nutrient rich. Straight compost, when I'm transplanting stuff, I'll just put a scoop of compost in the hole, the bottom of the hole, whatever I'm putting in there. Composted manures, make sure that they are well composted because they can really burn your plants. And then vermicompost, which is basically worm poop, which is one of the most bionic fertilizers on the planet.
How can you tell the difference between good compost and not good compost? Because we have a compost bin that hasn't been turned, so we're not sure if we should use it or not.
Does it smell bad and is it slimy?
I have not. But
If it smells bad and is slimy and it's something that's not like that, that really nice and crumbly and smells like the earth, then it's probably bad. And it has to do with aerobic and anaerobic, which the stuff I always get confused with. Anaerobic means there's not enough, or there's no oxygen in it, and aerobic is oxygen. Do you know? I always get confused with aerobic.
I don't know, but couldn't you just keep turning it? Just turn it some more. It's not bad.
Yeah, just keep turning it. If it is slimy, throw a bunch of leaves. We'll talk about what's the difference between carbon and nitrogen in a minute. But throw things that are more on the carbon side, which is dry. So a little bit about temperature. Now, with climate change, it's getting warmer here. I think we've all noticed that. The USDA has this plant hardiness zone map that they've just re-released a new one a few months ago. So you can see, this is not the best picture, but we're about here. So we're now in 7B, which is pretty close to North Carolina temperatures. I think in the city of Richmond, we're a microclimate, so we're probably in 8 if you live in the city where the heat island effect of an urban area is that we hold more heat. So, and you'll see when you buy seeds or you're buying any plants, it will tell you what zone it does well in. So make sure you get things that do well in I would say zone 8 for Richmond right now, even though this is saying 7B is what we're in. So this has slowly been creeping up over the years as we're changing. All right, so germination. Seeds will germinate at different temperatures, which is why plants, they're set. This is just kind of the genetic material that they have in their little brain, plant brain, as when to germinate. And so some, you see weeds start to come up right now. The weeds are going nuts right now.
You probably need to define Germany.
Oh, so germinate is what happens when the seed gets the nutrients and the water to set out its little root. And what you see there,
These
the
just
stem.
germinate.
Who knows the name of the for the two leaves? Starts with a C. What are they? Cotyledon. That's it. I'm so like American. If it was named like Frank or something, I could remember it. But cotyledon is what they're called.
Those are the first two leaves that come out that might not necessarily look like the rest of the leaves that will come out later.
So
But as you get along, you'll understand. That's probably why people put things in it. Experienced gardener doesn't need to do this, but people plant in a row because little weeds are coming up and you don't know what it is. You don't know whether it's a seed you planted or, then you'll get to recognize what they look like.
Flowers to set and nighttime temperatures. Now, the big problem that's happening with climate change is that it's not cooling off at night. A lot of these plants can handle the temperature during the day, but if it doesn't get below 85 degrees at night, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, kind of your more fruit-bearing plants, the flowers need for it to get below 85 degrees for it to set into the fruit. And this is where the problem is right now. I don't know what we're going to do about it. Okra seems to be able to handle it. Cantaloupe seems to be able to handle it. But it's really, really hard on a lot of our other vegetable plants. I think that if we start to focus on having an extended spring season and an extended fall season and figure out how to start our plants earlier, then we might be okay. A couple years ago, we experimented with starting tomatoes and cucumbers in August and letting them so that we could harvest them in November. So I think these are the kinds of things where all of us need to start experimenting and sharing what is working and what's not working, because things are changing. We don't really have a roadmap right now for how to deal with what's going on. And also with climate change modeling, what's predicted for here is wetter, not as cold winters, and hotter and drier summers where we just get very intense sporadic rain events. Which is why I think it's really important for us to start doing rain barrels and conserving water and figuring out ways to try and keep our water when it comes and get it to last as long as possible. So microclimates, again, Richmond's probably a microclimate because of asphalt absorbing temperatures or the heat. When you stand next to a brick wall in the winter that the sun has been hitting. Well, you can also do that in your garden. So you can put stones out or bricks out, or you can paint something a dark color and use that to start your lettuces early in the spring or have it growing all winter long, because during the day that's going to absorb heat and at night it's going to radiate it out. The other thing about nighttime temperatures, the opposite of summer, is when you're growing food in the winter, it's not how cold it gets at night that affects it, it's how fast it gets cold. So it's the fact that it will drop 20 or 30 degrees in a couple hours, that's what the plants can't handle. So if you throw an old sheet or a piece of plastic or anything over what you have in your garden when it starts to get cold at night, they'll be much happier. So again, it's not how cold it gets, it's how fast it gets cold. They can't handle the shock so much. But throwing a sheet or a light blanket over it, the soil is holding onto some heat, and that little light cover, the heat will radiate back out of the soil and keep a little microclimate for your plants to be happy. Cold winters. I personally desire at least a week of sub-freezing temperatures because it kills the bugs. So, we'll talk a little bit about good bugs and bad bugs as well. Use the right tool for the right job. Yes, I stole this from Shutterstock. So again, make sure that you just have the right tools going on. It'll make your back happier, it'll make the job easier, and I would love to see libraries get tool shares.
Well,
So
Patty
check
wants to
tools out.
do seed sharing, and so we're going to start a seed bank, I think.
Okay. because if you live in a tiny place, a wheelbarrow takes up a lot of space, but boy, do they come in handy. All right, composting. So again, we talked about building up soil. In urban areas, a lot of the healthy soil has been just scraped off due to the fact that it's urbanized and it's been contaminated. So a lot of the older neighborhoods have lead from lead paint. Lead was banned in '77, I think, or '74. So any paint before then had lead in it. Lead is an opacifier. It makes it so that it's a nice, solid, thick color. So we have a lot of lead in our soil. You can get, when you do your soil test, you can ask to be test for lead and arsenic. One
That's
other.
all we did.
Okay, lead and arsenic. And it is possible through something called bioremediation to extract metals out of soil, but it takes time. Sunflower will pull lead out. You have to take them to the landfill. You know, and I read about this guy in Detroit who was doing it. He actually burned them and got a thimbleful of lead from it. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So, building up our soils again is I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to figure out how to compost. Or if you live near a community garden and they're composting, bring your compost to the gardener or your neighbor, or somehow, really try and figure out how you can keep that stuff out of the landfill.
Restaurants too. Restaurants.
Yeah. But some restaurants now, there are these machines that you can buy that you put that stuff in and it zaps it. In 24 hours, it sucks out the moisture and does something, and you can get compost really fast out of them.
I saw the commercial because we were looking at it for schools. It'd be wonderful.
So what is compost and how do you do it? Because a lot of people think it's going to be stinky and that rats are going to come. And I've never had rats. I've had mice. And the only reason I knew it because my 2 cats would not leave the compost area. So you want to layer carbon and nitrogen. I would say go for a good 50-50 balance. Again, this is just, no one's going to be out there measuring you. It's just figure it out, what 50-50 is. Straw, old cardboard, newspaper, sawdust, leaves, that's why, if I see somebody who's neatly bagged their leaves and stacked them up, oh, thank you for doing that for me.
Just steal the bag is mine. Well, which one is nitrogen? Nitrogen is your food stuff.
Yeah, so carbon
is your
is the dry stuff. Yeah.
And they, there's not anything you can say. Cardboard and paper, you can put in the compost.
Yeah. Worms, I think it's just like a spontaneous regeneration for worms. If you put worms down, and we'll talk about using cardboard as mulch as well. If you put cardboard down for mulch and lift that up in a few weeks, it's like a worm party right on the surface. I don't know what it is about cardboard, but worms go nuts for it.
When you say paper, do you mean newspaper?
Well, colored printed newspaper.
Yeah, I don't
Well, I
think
wouldn't use the shiny. Most dyes are soy-based now, and so just cross your finger out about that. But it's better than putting it in the compost.
And so you want to mix then the wetter stuff, the stuff that you would rot and be slimy, with the drier stuff, and just layer that up, and that's how you can do compost. Yeah.
Do you need to shred the cardboard or anything like that, or cut it up at all, or just?
Well, it depends.
No.
You might want to break it up a little.
Yeah.
It depends on what kind of time and what you want to use it for. So if you have a compost pile that's just going for years and years and years, you don't need to worry about it. If you want it to break down pretty quickly, yes, shred it. We did talk a little bit what's called lasagna mulching, and this takes time. So if you have a yard in the fall or an area that's never been gardened before, and you want to garden in the spring, what you can do is layer up cardboard and manure and good compost and straw and maybe some dirt. I'm building one right now I live in Churchill, and there was a tree well that they put in, and they planted a tree, and it died immediately. And it's a pretty big, it's like 6 feet by 6 feet. So I built a wooden border around it, and I just shoved up all the leaf matter that had been collecting in the gutter, and then layered that with straw and cardboard and wood chips. And I'm just going to see how much it breaks down and what I can do with that. But so it depends on how fast you're looking at this happening. That stuff will break down pretty fast and will save you the back-breaking labor of having to trying to turn your soil over. Because what happens is that the worms that are somewhere, unless it's completely dead soil, there's not going to be any worms. But somewhere there's worms, or you can get worms and put them in there. You can give worms a new home. But the worms will come from down below, and worms also break the soil up. So they'll come up, and they'll be like, oh, yum, there's cardboard, and there's this other composting leaves, and let's start eating. And so eventually the worms will break it down, and the other insects and the little critters that are in there will break that stuff down for you. And so that's letting millions of little tiny creatures do the work for you, which I'm all about.
I'm thinking about, because I don't have the time necessarily to do composting, but I'm thinking about doing a worm bin. And so with the worm bin, though, is it the same sort of ratio of you want us to add the brown
Yes.
and green?
Yeah. Just shredded newspaper and cardboard is fine for them. And worm bins are great. You do need to make sure they get enough oxygen and that they don't. So vermiculture, and I don't have any pictures of this, but it's actually really fascinating. I'll talk about it a little bit. So what vermiculture is using worms to make fertilizer. And worms, basically, like I said, they eat and they poop. And they eat and they poop and they eat and they poop. And if they're in a contained area, they will end up, they eat the same thing over and over, and it ends up that all that's in there is their poop. And then it's a box of worms and a box of worm poop with nothing for them to eat. No fresh material for them to eat. If it gets to that point, they will die because it's not healthy for them to do it. And at the 9th and Bainbridge Urban Farm, there's a whole vermiculture operation going on. I recommend if you have a chance to go check it out. So what you do with that, you have this box with the worms in it, and they're finished their job, and you've got this great box of this worm poop, which is vermicompost. And you put a screen, like a kitchen, window screen down with some fresh compost, and the worms will sense that, and they all go up and they wiggle through the screen, and they start having a fresh feast, and you can lift that off, and you've got thousands of worms left, but in this new fresh material, and you're left with a box of incredible fertilizer. That's the one that's super clean and healthy and wonderful. So, and I've worked with kids quite a bit, and they do go, at first, like a 13-year-old girl and a worm is the worst experience. I talk about bursting your eardrums, but
You're getting ready to do Mayor's Youth Academy. You're going to have that on.
I know. But then they stop screaming and then they start loving it. Yeah, compost, it's good stuff. All right, so in vertical and small spaces, this is where you can be really, really, really creative. Because if you live in an urban area, I don't know why this is. If you live in an urban area, you need to make the most of your space and get really creative. The one thing I will caution you about, though, is when you're doing container gardening, is that you need to water them a lot more. You need to stay on top of watering. And so something like this, while it looks really cute, I think this will probably have to be watered 4 times a day when it's really hot.
Yeah,
I mean, these things,
yeah,
these things would get just fried instantly. I found this the other day. These are shopping bags that somebody put potatoes in and just built the soil up. And in our urban areas, there's enough stuff that people throw away in the alleys that you probably wouldn't have to spend any money. And you could just start to build really fun stuff. This year I'm going to try and build containers on the east side of my house and see if I can grow some really fast growing vines up to cool my house a tiny bit. Let me see if that works. So, vertical growing, I just think it's so super fun, and especially for kids, you know, so just look around and have fun with that.
What are the best times to water to get the most out of it for the plant?
Mornings or late in the evening. If you water in the middle of the day when it is 100 degrees, it's kind of like steaming your plants. So, yeah.
Can you speak to like some of the good supports that you've used in your garden and where you might find similar?
Bamboo is awesome. It's really light. It's really easy to cut. If, for the most part, if bamboo is growing somewhere, there's somebody that's hating it, and they're very happy for you to come in.
Do you know anyone?
It's on the side of the road sometimes, you pull off the knife.
Actually, right on the Richmond and Raccoon Turnpike, there's.
Our
I've harvested from there. I have some friends that have some in their yard that they've been fighting over ever. They let me go every spring and do a good harvest.
I have another picture on one of my slides where they
I know why.
built
Just
up
finished
in
pulling
the
it.
pallet, they made it pocket garden.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. So bamboo's really good. Also those the green stakes that have the little hooks on them that you see. I don't know what those are called. They're metal. Those are those are worth the investment because you can use those for years and years and years. Welded wire is good, and then there are things like Johnny's Selected Seeds carries this netting. It's a 4-inch square plastic netting that you can use over and over, and that's a really good thing to use as well for trellising.
Who carries that?
Johnny's Selected Seeds, they're in Maine. I love them. They're one of my favorites. When I'm not buying local, that is. All right, companion planting. So, as I said before, and you can find pretty much in any organic gardening book online, there are all kinds of charts and diagrams and spreadsheets that talk about companion planting. I found this, I just really liked this graphic. I thought it was very beautiful and simple. So some plants, like I said before, really like each other, and some plants really don't like each other. So, and then there's the whole thing of, a lot of times people will plant beans, pole beans or green beans or peas. They are, will help fix nitrogen into the soil. And so sometimes people will do 1 year, you don't want to plant tomatoes in the same spot every year, for example. You do tomatoes 1 year and then beans the next year. But it can get really, really complicated, all of this stuff. So it's really